Justin Diamond, Alvin, let's go.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Movie Reviewers channel. Before we get to the storyline, I hope all of you a great day. Please like, share, and also subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click the bell icon to stay updated with my new videos.
In the opening scene of the movie, we are introduced to Young, the daughter of the powerful Black Dragon boss in Hong Kong. As she attends one of her father's high-profile gatherings, tensions rise when members from a rival gang try to belittle her in an attempt to embarrass her father. However, Young refuses to back down. With poise and grace, she skillfully dances around the hall and showcases her impressive swordsmanship, impressing the guests. But things take a dangerous turn when one of the members purposely shatters a glass and throws the shards on the ground, causing Young's foot to bleed. Despite the pain, Young perseveres, somersaulting and wielding her sword with finesse, refusing to let the members see her falter. However, the guests' jeers and laughter intensify, and Young's frustration boils over. With a swift and powerful movement, she stabs the hand of the member who threw the glass shards earlier. Due to this, other members become hostile, but Young's father soon settles the matter. Unsatisfied with the punishment, Young tracks the leader of the gang the next day. She finds him in a station and slits his throat, killing him on the spot. After the funeral of the deceased gang member, tensions escalate as one of the high-ranking members vows to avenge his fallen comrade by targeting Young. Fearing for his daughter's safety, Young's father arranges for her to be sent to his trusted friend, Big Boss, a powerful gangster based in Korea. In the subsequent scene, Han Ki-chul, a low-ranking member of Big Boss's gang, is tasked with looking after Young due to his supposed ability to understand Chinese. However, the reality is that Ki-chul has no knowledge of the language whatsoever. The following day, Ki-chul and his entourage head to the airport to pick up Young, expecting a male gangster. To their surprise, they're met by a strikingly beautiful woman who radiates a chilly demeanor towards them. Adding to the communication barrier, none of them can speak Young's language, and she is equally unfamiliar with Korean. This creates an immediate sense of tension and unease between Young and her new caretakers. Later, Young meets with the Big Boss, who warmly welcomes her and tells her to make herself comfortable during her stay in Korea. He also says that she can boss around Ki-chul and his underlings as long as she's here. After a while, Ki-chul and his men drive Young to their home. The boys start displaying their fighting skills, trying to show Young who is the boss. But little do they know that she is an A-star fighter. Shortly after, a translator called Yan He arrives to assist in communication between Young and the gangsters. She is immature and very scared of the gangsters. So in the beginning, instead of translating Young's rather rude answers, she changes them to nice ones to prevent provoking the gangsters. Young then makes an important request to her caretakers. She wants to find her missing mother, who was last heard to be in Korea. The next day, Ki-chul's minions are bothered by some members from another gang. They're outnumbered, but thankfully Young is also at the scene. So she teaches the opponents a good lesson by kicking a small table toward them and making them fall on the floor. Then, Ki-chul's minions start beating them one by one. Eventually, the opponents flee from the scene with multiple bruises all over their bodies. That evening, Young, the translator, and the gangsters go to a diner to have some meals and drinks. After getting drunk, Ki-chul and one of his minions go to the bathroom to relieve themselves. Suddenly, the rival gang from earlier arrives at the diner, seeking revenge for the earlier fight. They try to harass Young and the translator while kicking the remaining minions. However, our brave protagonist is not going to leave without a fight. Hence, she strikes back, throwing chopsticks straight at the opponents. This gives her an advantage as she performs some powerful kicks on the gangsters, sending them away in fear. It was a one-woman fight against a group of men. Next, one of Ki-chul's minions reports the situation to him as he's still in the washroom. Ki-chul is too drunk, so he doesn't believe the story of Young fighting off the gangsters alone. Later, the defeated rival gang members report back to their leader, making the Ki-chul gang their prime target. After doing some research on the gang, Ki-chul and Aryong are invited to the rival gang's headquarters. When they arrive, they're surprised to learn that Ki-chul's minions have already been gathered and beaten up. This enrages Ki-chul, so he starts tussling with the boss of the rival gang. However, due to his mediocre fighting techniques, he does not put on much of a show. Thankfully, Aryong lends him a hand. She grabs a nearby plate and flicks a peanut straight to the boss's face. As the latter loses his balance, Ki-chul manages to maintain the upper hand as he rams the opponent's head on the ground. Following this, the rival members quickly surround him and start beating him with bats and punches. Despite being outnumbered, Ki-chul remains on his guard to fulfill his duty of protecting Aryong. However, our skilled fighter Aryong has seen enough, so she sets Ki-chul aside, readying herself to fight with the group of rivals. Though she's also outnumbered, Aryong manages to land some powerful kicks and injure her opponents. In seconds, the rivals are all lying helplessly on the floor, while Ki-chul stands shocked, finally realizing Aryong's exceptional fighting skills. Shortly after their victory, Ki-chul and the group decide to return home. He and his minions, who are rather unskilled, are impressed and become afraid of the mighty woman. Later that evening, Ki-chul and Aryong relax together outside in the garden for some drinks. It's obvious that the language barrier between the two exists, but Ki-chul starts feeling attracted to Aryong. She also seems to enjoy his company. The following morning, all the group members sit together for breakfast. Aryong starts to become kinder to them compared to the rudeness she carried with herself when she was new. However, the translator now starts translating into rather commanding sentences in order to inflict some fear on Ki-chul's minions. Turns out, she enjoys making fun of them. Later, Ki-chul and his minions go to their headquarters and see that the rival gang's boss is there to admit defeat. Impressed by this, Big Boss promotes Ki-chul from a low-rank gangster all the way up to being his right-hand man. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, the member of the higher gang is still determined to take revenge on Aryong. So he sends some professional assassins to go after Aryong. Back in Korea, Aryong and the group are having some good times at a town, when they're suddenly interrupted by the arrival of the assassins. At first, they believe the assassins are after Ki-chul, but soon they learn that Aryong is their actual target. She's accused of killing a gangster in Hong Kong, triggering a gangster war there. As the assassins begin their ambush, Ki-chul's minions manage to get away, but Aryong is injured when they fire a shot at her. While taking cover, Ki-chul reports the incident to his big boss. Once they arrive home, they think of ways to protect themselves from the assassins. Unfortunately, they soon learn that the assassins have already arrived in the neighborhood. They then separate into two groups, Aryong with Ki-chul and the translator with the minions. In the next scene, Ki-chul and Aryong drive away in a car as they're chased by the assassins. Thankfully, they manage to slip away after the bad guy's van rams into a passing truck. The two then decide to take refuge in Ki-chul's family home. It becomes a good place for them to relax for a while and take a breath of fresh air. Ki-chul's parents believe that Aryong is his girlfriend and give him a family necklace to gift her. The couple then spends the night safe and sound at home, not caring about what lies ahead. However, in Hong Kong, we learn that Aryong's father isn't safe. After having a meeting with one of his higher-level members, the place suddenly explodes, injuring him seriously. Following their short getaway, Aryong and Ki-chul reunite with the others. Aryong excuses herself to try and call her father, but the assassins suddenly appear in the neighborhood. A deadly fight ensues, and Aryong manages to throw two of her daggers straight at the assassins, killing them on the spot. Now, only the leader of the group is left, who also happens to be an alpha female. Soon after, the two of them get into a powerful duel, each showing off their fantastic sword skills. They dodge each other's attacks and strike back at each other equally. However, the opponent leader proves to be more powerful, as in the end, she slightly injures Aryong. Hence, our protagonist decides to use her intelligence and hides in a big stack of hay. The leader then stabs all over the stack, but Aryong manages to strike her from below, injuring her fatally. After the fight, Aryong finally finds out about her mother's location and rushes to meet her. However, when she arrives there, she learns that the woman has already found a new family and is living happily. Hence, Aryong tearfully leaves without contacting her mom. After that, she leaves Korea despite Ki-chul's confession to her. Once she arrives in Hong Kong, she sees her father barely hanging from the severe injuries caused by the explosion earlier. He then dies shortly after he sees his daughter one last time. The following day, Ki-chul suddenly appears in Hong Kong to support Aryong. He then offers her the family necklace and gets a kiss in return. However, Aryong is determined to take revenge on the culprit who murdered her father. Cut to the next scene, Aryong visits the wedding of the rival, who is responsible for her father's death. The main boss is also present at the wedding. Aryong manages to disguise herself as the bride to get close to the boss. As she and the groom get blessings from the boss, Aryong suddenly pulls out a sword and slashes him. Chaos ensues at the wedding as the rival gangsters prepare themselves to strike Aryong. However, before they can subdue her, Ki-chul and his minions also arrive. With the battlefield leveled, our exceptional protagonist manages to single-handedly take down several gangsters while also evading all the gunshots. Sensing the danger, the rival boss flees the place, and Aryong follows him. However, after a while, she ends up alone in a dark tunnel with a bunch of opponent henchmen. Despite the odds stacked against her, Aryong swiftly outsmarts them, injuring and subduing all the men with her powerful kicks. Even the boss's right-hand man is no match for her, since she dodges his gunshots and strikes a dagger right into his chest. Eventually, Aryong faces the boss once again, but he's now injured. She tries to duel with him with her two swords, but the boss smirks at her, pulling out his gun and firing at her. Unfortunately, Aryong is hit with a shot in her leg, making her position vulnerable. The boss then gives off an evil laugh, pointing the gun at Aryong's head. It appears as if she's going to be killed, but right then, Ki-chul appears and draws his attention away from her. In the chaos, the boss shoots Ki-chul, sending him tumbling off a tall building. Despite her grief, Aryong seizes the opportunity to close in on the boss and deliver a lethal slash on him in a final act of desperation. She then throws her knife, piercing the boss's chest and sending him plummeting off the building and to his death. After the victory, Aryong sets out to search for Ki-chul. Fortunately, she discovers that he survived the fall and landed safely in a passing garbage truck. In the next scene, we see Aryong officially taking over as the new boss of the Black Dragons, succeeding her father. On the other hand, Ki-chul heads to the airport to leave Hong Kong. However, Aryong's father's right-hand man advises her not to let Ki-chul go, as her father had let her mother leave, only to regret it later. Taking the advice to heart, Aryong stops Ki-chul on his way to the airport with all her gangsters and makes a bold move. She proposes to him. The movie ends on a heartwarming note as Ki-chul accepts Aryong's proposal and they embrace on the motorway, with the future looking bright for the new power couple of the Hong Kong underworld.